you to tell us what we've missed, perspective that you haven't heard, to straighten us out, or just to vent, if that will make you feel better. The number is 888-727-2325, 888-727-BECK. You can call now. There is one story, as I begin my journey today of looking for what matters most. It's really difficult. I don't know. I think we're the same. I am looking for meaning in my life. And this is going to become the most important journey that any of us make. It is going to become more and more important because fewer of us are going to have jobs. And I don't mean that in a bad way, like, oh my gosh, the economy. I mean just because electronics and AI and robotics. In the next generation, most people will not have a job as we understand it. Well, so many of us get our meaning from our jobs. It's why, at least for men, for me, when I'm unemployed, I lose my self-esteem like crazy because I have always been about my job. That's not healthy. But that's just the way it is. So how do you find meaning in your life? Well, you start by asking yourself, what is really important? What matters? What actually matters? Not what I'm doing. Because all I'm doing right now, honestly, is I'm paying a bank for the money that I borrowed, or I'm paying a bank, or I'm working to pay for things that I choose to do every day. That's all I'm doing. I'm working to pay a grocery store. But then we try to find some sort of meaning in that, which is human nature, because we have to get up every morning and do it. And there will come a point in all of our lives, and I've hit mine, where you're like, okay, so what is it I'm doing? Maybe, oh my gosh, I'm having a midlife crisis. Is that what's happening to me? And the last thing I want to do is buy a sports car. I want something real. Something simple. So every day in my life, as I'm looking at the news now, I'm trying to find what really is important, because getting into my seat every day here and saying something that just plays into pissing you off is not healthy for me, and it's not healthy for you, and it's not healthy for the country. It's just not right. But that's what the media is doing, because the media is trapped in, I've got to pay the bills. I'm probably the more dangerous kind of person that you'll ever meet in your life, because I don't really care. I don't really care. I've been rich and I've been poor, and I'll probably be poor again, and then I'll be rich again, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yes, it makes it easier to have money in some ways. You don't have to worry about feeding your children, which is the worst place to be. But it just complicates your life in other ways. And so you can't find happiness in money or fame or success. You have to find meaning. Today, I want to lead with a story that no one else will lead with. And they're trying to make, I've seen this story a couple of places, and people are trying to make this about personalities, and it's not. So what is it that I find matters most today? A story that others may dismiss, but a story that to me is the biggest wake-up call I have had in quite some time. A story that says, warning America and warning to the world. You're running out of last calls. A story that the world has seen this movie before, over and over and over again. And that movie always ends the same way. Exactly the same way. We've seen it, I think, 23 times. And it ends the same way. And this time it will be on a global scale. And unless you know it today, you have a good shot of being swept into the madness. Has tweeted an article blaming Jews for driving America's wars. Now, I'm going to give you the tweets that went out, and then I'm going to give you the article. So she tweets yesterday. If you remember who Valerie Plame was the woman that Scooter Libby, what did he do? Out her. And, it was the biggest scandal everywhere. And she's a darling of the left. She's an ex-CIA operative. And she retweeted a story yesterday called "American Jews Are Driving America's Wars." And she tweeted, as she's on the board of the Plowshares Fund, she tweeted here that it's very thoughtful. This is a very thoughtful article. Now, so you know, the Plowshare Fund is an organization that advocated for the Iranian nuclear deal. She's also a top donator to Hillary Clinton. She tried to organize a campaign to buy Twitter because they needed to remove the hateful Donald Trump from its platform. So she tried to get a whole bunch of people together to buy Twitter so they could ban him from Twitter. Okay. All that stuff's politics. All that stuff doesn't matter. She tweets this. It says, this is a very thoughtful article. Again, the article is, Jews are driving American wars. She then starts to get some pushback on this. All this has been tweeted, by the way. And she says, so Brooke Rogers tweets, the article of Valerie Plame shared calls for Jews to be systematically discriminated against and labeled as Jewish when speaking on TV. That's in the article. That we start identifying Jews. She then tweets, calm down. Retweets don't imply endorsement. Yes, it's provocative, but it's thoughtful. Many neocon hawks are Jewish. Okay, in the article, it says we need to start identifying Jews. She then says, just an FYI, I'm of Jewish descent, and I'm not in favor of war with Iran or getting out of the Iran treaty. The next one. Too many are so eager to go to war. Haven't we had enough for a while? The next tweet. Read the entire article and try just for a moment to put your biases aside and think clearly. She then deleted all of that and her retweeting of the article. What does the article actually say? This article is taking us back in time. This article could have been written in the 1920s or 1930s by anyone on the staff of Goebbels or Hitler. I'm bringing this up to you today because, hear me clearly, dismiss this stuff at your own peril. This is the soup of the neocon Nazis, the socialists, the anarchists, the fascists, and the communists. We are seeing the exact replay of the 1930s and 40s played out. This time it's being played out again in our own country. Father Coughlin had 70 million people listening to his radio program in the 1930s. 70 million people listening to his Sunday radio program every Sunday. The guy was a fascist Nazi supporter. But for a long time, everybody listened to him. This is not thought-provoking. It is not thoughtful. It is deeply disturbing in a racist way. I would like to ask Valerie Plame if she knows, why did Iran drop the name Persia? When did they change from Persia to Iran? Why did they do it? What does the word Iran mean? Who did the Grand Mufti at the time fly to see and present that name of Iran as a gift? Because Valerie Plame, doesn't listen to this program and wouldn't dare answer any of those questions because it would expose her and Iran, I'll give you the shorthand. Answer the first question, World War II. Why? To show support of Hitler's goals. What's the Persian translation of Iran? Aryan. And who did the Grand Mufti fly to present as a gift? Hitler. What people like Valerie Plame dismiss, or no, I'm sorry, they don't dismiss, they cover up. Because any thinking human being can find this. What they are covering up is that Nazi ideology was transplanted into the Muslim world by Adolf Hitler at the end of the war. They used social justice and socialist tactics, and Iran has embraced and grown this new mutation into a deadly disease. Here's the warning to the world. The movie has played out. We know how this ends. This time is not different. Even the very elect will be deceived. Do not be deceived. This is deadly. And it is, to me, what matters most. It is the thing that I want you to read today and know and digest and see the pattern that is being cut by so many in the media and so many around the world. I've posted it at my Facebook page. We'll tweet it out. Marissa, can you tweet this story out for me? And we'll make sure that you have access to it. But please read it. There is no way that this is a thought-provoking article. This is anti-Semitism at its highest level. And where is the ADL? Running cover-ops for people like this. He is a danger to people like her. Ellen, there's many reasons to not have Donald Trump on your show. There's many reasons not to like Donald Trump. But that's not one of them. And you do yourself a disservice by getting his record wrong on gay rights. Daily Wire did a great piece yesterday where they were talking about, in the 1980s and the 1990s, he donated heavily to the AIDS outbreak. When he was talking about a third-party run in 1999, he went on the record saying he would consider adding sexual orientation to the Civil Rights Act. He's also believed to be the first private club owner to allow a gay couple into the country club, and that is in Palm Beach. That was Mar-a-Lago. This is not a guy who is not a friend to gay people. In 2015, he forcefully went after the attackers on the on the Pulse nightclub in Orlando. He spoke the ugly truth that radical Islam is not a friend to the LGBT community. He went to Cleveland and he talked about how he had a vow to protect that community. He went on to have Peter Thiel, who was an openly gay, Silicon Valley tycoon, addressed the Republican convention. He has Peter Thiel part of his transition team, still part of his team. He's considering Richard Grenell, an openly gay man, to be his ambassador to the UN. This is not a foe to people who believe in gay rights. Again, there are reasons not to agree with the president. There are reasons to not like the president. There are reasons to say, well, I think he's dividing people and he hates X, Y, or Z. But you have to at least base those things in fact. And the fact is that this president is the most gay-friendly president in the history of the United States of America. Bill O'Reilly's coming up in a second. Let me go to David in Florida. Hello, David. How are you?
And Glenn, I've been watching this transition, and thank you. I think it's outstanding, and I'm really looking forward to how it turns out.
The transition of
the show and the blog and the radio show and everything. And thank you so much. I really want to applaud Matt Walsh's piece on the blog talking about this September 23rd nonsense and the numerology, which is phony, and his main messages. Yeah, prepare yourself. The end is near because we're all going to die sometime in the next few decades. And salvation is what we need to prepare ourselves for. And no one can, as Jesus taught us in Matthew, no one can know the time of my coming, only the Father. And this is a very Catholic perspective Matt Walsh offers. You know, we can talk about the Virgin Mary, the woman with a crown. That's actually the Virgin Mary giving birth to Jesus, by the way, in Revelation. But I just want to thank you for allowing someone like Matt Walsh to cut through the nonsense on this so-called doomsday prophecy. None of us know what's happening. Just prepare yourself. Turn to morality. Be ready so that when you have to enter through the narrow gate, you've done the right things.
Thank you so much, David. I appreciate it. You know, the crazy thing about this September 23rd thing is we're missing the point. I mean, what is really the point of, if you want to go to the book of Revelation, what is the point? It's exactly what David just said. Just be ready. And so whether something happens on, you know, I personally believe that we have passed a gate. There is something coming. The world is about to change, and not in good ways. We're going to go through some tribulation here. Is it the 7-year tribulation? I have no idea. I don't care. I've got to prepare myself to drop dead today without Jesus coming. We need to find out what is true. And if it takes a September 23rd to wake up, okay, that's good. But wake up, man. If September 23rd tomorrow comes and nothing happens, or is this built you into a better person? Or are you going to go, well, see, I got to stop believing that stuff because that didn't help. That didn't happen. The point of, at least the point I can take from this September 23rd thing is, wake up. Wake up. What matters most? Ray in New Hampshire, welcome to the Glenn Beck program.
Hello, Glenn. It's an honor to finally get to talk to you. I've been a long-time dedicated listener, and I've always been trying to reach out. I am so happy to hear the new Glenn because I'm a really your sister, the truck driver from Thailand.
Yeah. Yes.
Hey, so I'm the type of person, 40 years of driving a truck, people come up with new ideas, but they don't follow through. And I have a question, single-payer system, the transition. What happens to Aetna, Blue Cross, and Blue Shield and all these health companies that have the stock market, employees, assets, buildings like Hartford, Connecticut? They have Aetna, have so many big buildings there, so much employees. What happens when the government takes over all the insurance? Has anybody ever asked what happens to this? Because the Democrats want to scare everybody that the Republicans are going to kill everybody. But what about the Democrats? What's going to happen to your investments?
I think, honestly, Ray, that the world is in for such profound change that investments are going to be the least of your worries. I don't think this stuff is going to happen. I think the ground is being tilled, and I think the maps are being laid, and the answers will become the popular answers because it will relieve pain. Things are going to get bad enough to where we're going to say that just doesn't, you know what, it just doesn't work anymore. And here's the problem. Thanks for your call, Ray. Here's the real problem. The real problem on this is that no one is laying the foundation for freedom again. No one is laying the foundation of what we're for. We're laying the foundation of what we're against. And then at the same time, you have technology changing things so dramatically that the old system doesn't work. It just doesn't work. The media, as it stands right now, does not work. I'm going to be sharing some things in the next few weeks that will show you and hopefully show the media. And I don't really care about the media, but I do care about people who have the spirit of liberty and the spirit of the Bill of Rights and the spirit of the Declaration of Independence, and that's what guides them. I do care that your voice is going to be diminished. And there were some things that came out when Tim Cook came out this week and said, I think the news media needs to understand that iOS 11 is game-changing for the media. Okay. In what way, Tim? And he talked about, augmented reality. And I'm not smart enough to figure out how augmented reality is going to be game-changing for the media and the reporting of the news. But there is something in iOS 11 that is game-changing. It's to me, it is something that makes it almost impossible for the media to make money. The traditional routes are going to dry up. But don't worry, as we will point out next week. Don't worry, because Google is writing in. They've just hired 1,000 journalists, and they're going to start employing 1,000 journalists under the tutelage of ABC, NBC, CBS, PBS, and the New York Times. And they are going to help us with journalism. Facebook says they're going to hand over all of the Russia-linked ads to investigators. That's great, but they also said they've got something that's going to stop all these fake ads. What exactly do you have, Facebook? What exactly are you planning on doing? So we're feeling this grind because the world doesn't work anymore. And on top of it, you have a power play of people who say, I'm going to grab all of the control. On top of that, you have a public, a group of people all across the world, everybody. Nobody really cares about the truth anymore. Nobody even knows what the truth is. That's our biggest problem. Our investments, these things will come down when the investments are so low that somebody will ride in on their white horse, be it a Republican or a Democrat, a fascist or a communist, and they will ride in and they'll say, you know what, we got it. We're going to take care of you. We're going to make sure that you have whatever it is, fill in the blank. And we will gladly cry out for somebody to stop the chaos. Let me go to Marianne in D.C. Hi, Marianne.
Hi, Glenn. Thanks for taking my call. So I've worked in the D.C. area in the conservative movement for over 20 years. And one thing we used to always say, and I'm not sure that this is kind of active anymore, but we used to say we're in the business of changing hearts and minds with truth. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I'm so concerned about is, you play that clip by Ellen. The idea that Ellen doesn't know how pro-gay this president is either, a reflection on us, that, we haven't, spread the word. I don't know. Maybe that's the wrong way to say it. But it's so obvious to me, and it's obvious to people that I know, and I don't think we're going to change minds with facts. I don't think people want to hear it. And there's a part of me that says until we teach our youth and show our youth how to care, how to do charity, until they actually see the state of the world and actually feel it in their souls and say, we've got to change this, then that leads them to the truth. It leads them to charity and goodness instead of fighting these political battles. I mean, I've been in the political world for years, and it's just not working anymore. It's not.
Marianne, you could not be more right. And it is honestly why for the last 6 months I've been praying for empathy. I please, Lord, let me feel more empathy. It's why I've personally gotten more involved with some of the things that we do. You know, I've been to Haiti, I've been to Bangkok, I've been to Mexico City, I've been to Houston, because until we feel it, you won't realize how empty your day-to-day life is, and you won't realize, you won't feel the prompting of I can do something, I can help, and how do I help? And it's not going to happen if you are not on the front lines. What's going to happen is you're going to see problems and you go like, yeah, and then somebody will come on and say, and this is the way we fix it. And you'll say, yeah, and you'll go back to your video game or your Facebook feed or whatever it is, and you will let the world fix it. We have to be personally involved. You couldn't be on the money more than you are. I'll bet you that's what happened, because does anybody know how to get the smell of skunk out of a 80,000 square foot building? Because it's everywhere in our studio. There's nothing better than a little skunk to make your day. Come visit us today, will you? Bring some tomato juice. Bill O'Reilly, the author of the new New York Times best-selling book, Killing England, which is on sale right now, joins us. Hello, Bill. Welcome to the program.
Beck, you sound fired up today.
I am fired up. There's a lot to be fired up. A lot to be fired up on. Let me go through some of the things that have been happening this week. Let's start with North Korea and the president in front of the United Nations. Let's start just with North Korea and what has happened with the sanctions first, Bill.
I thought it was a pretty good speech, and I was not offended by the Rocket Man reference, and that helped Elton John, my pal, so the records. I love the outrage, and I wrote a column for The Hill. I'm very highbrow these days, Beck. You know that.
I do know that. I do. You're very
I'm writing
highbrow.
for publications that reach Congress directly, The Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, and my column was basically saying the outrage from people like Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, Barack Obama about Trump, demeaning Kim Jong-un and telling North Korea we're going to blast them out of existence if they attack anybody. But these people are outraged. For 8 years, Beck, they did absolutely nothing on North Korea. The most vicious thing the United States did under the Obama administration was send Dennis Rodman over to visit there. That's the most vicious thing. All right. Now, when you have a total failure in life, in any regard, a total failure, is it wise to criticize anyone who may have a different point of view on how to solve a problem? The answer is no, it isn't. But these people, they have hubris. Word of the day, Beck. Hubris. HB.
I got it. So Bill, look, I've been talking about this for as long as you have been talking about it. I've been talking about this since the 1990s and Bill Clinton. It's been a failure of every Congress and every president to take these things seriously. The one on the horizon that's going to end up exactly the same is Iran. We'll get to that here in a second. But we are now in a situation to where we have nuclear weapons. The time to be really, really tough and to talk about military strikes, etc., was when he didn't have ICBMs tipped with, now he says, a hydrogen bomb. So now he is a nuclear power, whether we like it or not, and he is a crazy man. But for the president to go in front of the United Nations and to belittle, I think, himself by calling Kim Jong-un Rocket Man, to belittle the situation. No, come on, Bill. Don't. Let's not make everything into a show. It's we're sitting in front of the United Nations, and we're talking about something that could kill millions of people. Let's not, and it's not worth even discussing because it's so stupid and so inconsequential. But please,
understand that he wanted to get attention to the problem, that many people aren't paying attention to it all over the world, and this is an immediate way to do it. So, all right.
Yeah, he doesn't need to do it in front of the United Nations. Anyway, but the point is that now Kim Jong-un has said, because of these sanctions, which I think are right, I think we have to do that. But we are now, we're entering, a few days in October. We're entering something that could very well be the Cuban Missile Crisis of this generation, and it may not end the same as the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Well, look, the world is a dangerous place, but I think you have to throw down markers. Now, I don't believe that Trump in the United States would do any unilateral military action against North Korea on a major scale. They might do what they did in Syria, take out a couple of installations or something like that, but there's not going to be any mass attack unless this nut in North Korea fires one of his missiles at either our territory or our allies. Now, if the man does that, then Trump has been very clear in saying, well, I'm going to destroy your whole country. That's what's going to happen. So don't do it. Is there anything wrong with that marker? Beck, are you there?
No, I'm letting the audience. I thought that was a rhetorical question. I'm letting the audience decide.
I'm asking you. The marker is now down. Obama never threw a marker down. He did it one time in Syria, and then he backed down.
Yeah, I don't think it. Look, here's the thing, Bill. I don't think the United States has any choice than to respond if someone launches a nuclear weapon. And
even a conventional ICBM.
No. You're right. No.
Them out.
You're right. If he is launching anything that could be a nuclear weapon, but if he is launching missiles and they hit Guam, they hit Japan, they hit Tokyo, they hit any place. If he is launching missiles, the world must respond to him. However, the idea,
that's what Trump said.
Right, the idea that we are going to have a first strike is the act of the insane. And I'm hoping that nobody is pulling for a first strike.
Not going to happen. And this is the hysteria that's whipped up by the people who have no solutions to anything. But I want the world to know the United States is not going to sit around and allow guys like Kim Jong-un and the mullahs to attack with high-tech weaponry and kill innocent people. I mean, I want the world to know that.
All right, let's change the subject with Bill O'Reilly. Let's go to Donald Trump and wiretapping. This is an amazing story because I think both sides won and both sides are losing because they're making it about something very, very small. Donald Trump says, see, I've been vindicated. They were wiretapping Trump Tower and they were listening and they were. So he was right on that. However,
it's unbelievable.
However, the CNN is now able to say, yeah, because Paul Manafort looks like he was doing something really bad with Russia. So they were both right in their own way. The bigger story here, the point of this is to say, is there something bad that Paul Manafort was doing, and did the president know, or should he have known?
First of all, Beck, do you have a band there in the studio?
I do. I have a little band.
Calypso thing?
I do.
Yes. Drop?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love it.
Thank you.
Okay. Number one, this revelation that Paul Manafort was wired up and they were tapping whatever he had is to me almost amazing. Because the Obama administration has been accused, and I had Cheryl Atkinson on BillO'Reilly.com yesterday with the podcast. She's suing the federal government because they tapped into her computer while she was working at CBS News.
Yes.
She's suing them.
Yes.
Today, there's actually a hearing. So the Obama administration has been accused, all right, of surveillance, illegal surveillance across the board. And now And now at this high level. Okay, that's number one. So Trump catches an enormous break that this is now public knowledge that he wasn't a kook when he said that, he was tapping me in the Trump Tower, because where did Manafort live, Trump? Beck?
In the Trump Tower. Right.
Yeah.
However, let's make sure we're accurate on our words here. They weren't tapping him. They were tapping Paul Manafort, and they had a reason to.
Right. Yeah. You remember how what a big shot Manafort was in that campaign. So anyway, I don't want to split, but the big story to me, there's two big stories here, and I think Paul Manafort might be indicted. I do. Okay. So whatever he did or did not do, that'll probably come out. But the other big story is if James Clapper, the head of Obama's national security apparatus, says publicly, I didn't know that Manafort was being surveilled. I didn't know. I'm the highest ranking Obama official, and I didn't know. That's huge. That is huge.
Why? Why?
Because if it had gone through FISA circles, legal circles, Clapper would have known. So therefore, this whole thing may have been illegal. And if it's illegal, who's there in there? That's Comey. Okay? So this is a huge developing story. Now, we don't know. We can't speculate. I'm not like MSNBC where I'm going to come out and convict everybody. I'm not going to do that. I'm just trying to guide the folks into what a big story is on the horizon here. If Clapper is telling the truth, he did not know about the surveillance on Manafort, that means it was not done legally. And if it wasn't done legally, then who's generating that in the Obama administration?
It is the story that will either make or break this administration, make or break the former administration, make or break our internal security apparatus, should we choose to care. More with Bill O'Reilly in just a second. Bill O'Reilly is the author of the new book, Killing England, that is on sale now, and you can hear Bill O'Reilly and his opinions. Your children and your grandchildren must read. It's available at bookstores or online. I recommend you get a hard copy, and I believe in getting hard copies of books that should be in your family for this generation and the next, and this is one of those. BillO'Reilly.com. You can find more information there or just get it at Amazon. Bill, welcome back to the program. Can you help me understand? Former UN Ambassador Samantha Power submitted hundreds of unmasking requests in 2016. Are you following this story?
Yes, I am.
What is this story about?
Well, this ties directly into what we were just talking about with the surveillance. This is the same soup can, all right? So you've got and let's just walk through it real quick because I know we don't have a lot of time in this segment. But you've got the Obama administration surveilling the head of the Trump campaign, okay, Manafort. All right. Then you've got the national security chief, Clapper, saying, I didn't know about it. Then you've got the UN ambassador, also a member of Clapper's team, Samantha Powers, going in and asking 260 times for information about FISA wiretaps on foreign people and who the foreign people were talking to.
So
260 times.
When you're talking about unmasking, what this means, so the average person understands, is there's a FISA warrant that is supposed to be kept just at the highest level of who the foreign people are, who they're talking to here in the United States. So names are never, leaked out, and, that just because you happen to be talking to somebody who is under investigation doesn't make you a criminal. She went in and asked 60 times.
60 times.
To unmask that name. So in other words, go in and ask for, with her security clearance, to take the masking off of that name so she knew who those Americans were. That's extraordinarily dangerous.
Well, but it's even worse than that, because it looks like there is a pattern of behavior. See, I'm big on that. I'm big on the pattern of behavior business, that there was something going on in the last year of the Obama administration when Trump was running against Hillary Clinton. There was something going on, Beck, that was being directed toward the Trump campaign. All of this, I will submit to you when we find out, will be directed toward the Trump campaign. All of it. And Russia will be involved, yes, all right, because that plays into the Trump campaign to some extent. There were Russians trying to intrude. We know that.
I would bet you that Manafort either goes to jail or I mean
I'm not going to.
And I will tell you I'm not.
What about Barack Obama?
Here's what I want to do, Bill. I think it is only right and fair to treat these two things as separate issues. They are connected, but the Russia thing needs to be dealt with by itself in its own vacuum, and then the Barack Obama stuff and all this with Samantha Power, that needs to be dealt with as well. They both need to be dealt with separately and equally, and personally, I think a lot of people on both sides are going to go to jail. And number one today is UN sanctions on North Korea. They aren't working. Will these new sanctions work? Bill O'Reilly is here. I know we've already touched on North Korea, but let's talk about the new sanctions a bit. And do they actually work?
Well, first I have to say that I'm a little bit prejudiced against North Korea, Beck, because they will not stock killing England. They will not put it in the bookstore.
Shut up. They have stores. They don't have stores?
Yeah, they don't have bookstores.
Yes. Okay. So
and if Amazon ships there to North Korea, then President Trump's new executive order would punish Amazon. How about that for a segue, Beck?
Could we get it to punish you?
You play that back for your audience later on. That is one of the most brilliant segues in the world.
Yeah, really. It was a shameless plug, and everybody saw right through it. Yes, you did. But you did.
Right off the top of my head.
You did. It was 50 years of being a sham artist that is coming up and tying in anything.
The guys in the Calypso band applauded me for that segue.
All right, go ahead.
All right,
tell me about North Korea, the sanctions.
All right, so now President Trump this week signs an executive order, okay? And it says that if you do business with North Korea, anybody, you can't do business with the USA. So that's pretty tough. That takes China out of it. It takes Russia out of it. It takes all, and it takes into it gets into the individual company. So say the Bank of Canton starts to lend money to Kim Jong-un, all right, so he can continue to eat Domino's pizza at a record rate. Then the Bank of Canton can't do business with anyone associated with the United States. So I thought that was a pretty sophisticated way to tell the world we're not playing games here. We find out you're interacting with Kim, you're not going to interact with us, period.
Let me ask you this, Bill, and I've just written down my answer on what I believe Bill O'Reilly is going to say when asked this question. And if you,
this is like Jeopardy.
It is. And if you happen to be watching, you can see what I believe how he's going to answer this question, which may have already tainted this, so it may not be a valid study here. But tell me about what you think about this September 23rd thing that happens tomorrow with the stars lining up and people saying that this is part of the Book of Revelation prophecy.
You see, I don't really follow this kind of stuff. I know today is the first day of autumn. And I like autumn, so I'm happy. So is the world going to end tomorrow, or do I just have one day of autumn this year?
I think that's it. Yeah, I think that's it.
That's not fair.
Yeah.
That is unfair.
I don't know, Marissa, do I get a point on this? Because I don't think I expected your typical, I don't deal with the future. I don't deal with the blah, blah, blah. I deal in the news or facts. But go ahead.
What I wanted to say, and you inhibited me from saying it, was,
right.
Well, if that's true, you only have one day to buy Killing England. You better get it.
shameful. Just shameful. Really is.
Another great segue.
All right, let's talk about the border wall. Donald Trump.
Yes.
Being sued by California.
No. Xavier Becerra, Governor Jerry Brown's right-hand man, the Attorney General of California, now says he's going to sue the federal government because they're violating environmental regulations by putting a wall up in San Diego County. There's already a wall there. You know that, right? And
yes.
The wall has worked brilliantly.
It's very effective.
Right. Now, in Imperial County, which is east of San Diego, there's no wall. And that's where everybody's running across now. So that's why they want a wall there. But Xavier says, oh, no, you're going to disturb the environment in Imperial County, where the average temperature is 135 degrees and no one lives. Okay? So, but we don't want to disturb the cactus or the rocks or anything else in Imperial Counties we're suing. All right, so we all know this is a ruse. Everybody knows it's a ruse. And the state of California has basically set itself up as a opponent to the United States federal government.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like a civil war.
They're saying
California versus the feds.
It is. It is. California wants to be a sanctuary state.
They want to be a separate country.
Yes. I'm willing to let them go. I really am. I'm willing to, have to have a passport to go into California. I'm willing to. I don't want any of your problems in California. I don't want to have to pay for your stupid, crazy schemes. I'm willing to let you go as a separate state. I'm willing to take that star off the flag. I am.
Yeah, I'm not, because I feel sorry for the people in California who are sane, all right? And that includes the San Diego area, the Orange County area of L.A., and all of the central and northern part of the state.
And that's why
front-loaded in L.A. and San Francisco.
Right. That's why I would just like to point out there are roads that head east. I just want to point that out.
Yeah,
if you live in any of those areas, you can get into a car. I know that. I was born and raised in Seattle, and I love it. I got out before the insanity completely destroyed Seattle. And so there's roads, and there's plenty of room here in Texas. We'd love to have the Californians that know the right from wrong. We'd love to have you. If you would help us pick the ones out that are moving here because their company moved here and they really like that progressive utopia out in California, if you can help us find them so we can help them move back to California.
You got to tell me. You got to explain something to me, though.
Yeah,
okay, yeah. Texas, I lived there for a couple of years. We both love Texas, the independent spirit, the self-reliance. What is going on in Dallas where they want to take the names of Washington, Jefferson, and Franklin off the schools?
Dallas. I mean, Bill, we're just 20 years behind every other state. This is the same disease that has hit every other state. Started in Austin. Keep Austin weird. You know what's weird in Austin? An NRA member. That's what's weird in Austin now. And the same thing is happening in cities like Houston and cities like Dallas. The progressives have taken over, and they're.
But this is how crazy it is. All right. So you just mentioned the city of Houston. That's named after Sam Houston, correct?
Yes.
Sam Houston was a slaveholder. Okay, so now what are we going to change the name of Houston to?
I know, but you also have to look. Sam Houston also refused to he had a change of heart and was instrumental in the Civil War on the good side. I mean, they got him out because he said, we're not going to fight for this. This is wrong.
The point is that you have to evaluate men in their totality.
Yes, I know.
Not in, nobody's perfect.
I know.
But this insanity that now we're looking at in America, all across, even in Montana, places like that, I mean, it's just dangerous. Well, it's so dangerous.
Here's the thing: I'm so sick of dealing with the past. When bad guys are getting away with things now, first of all, slavery is bigger than it's ever been in the history of the world, and then you also have people who are clear predators. You want to talk about women are oppressed and blah blah blah. Well, how come we don't see Anthony Weiner in jail yet? How come he's not in jail yet? We now have testimony from him that he was talking to a 15-year-old. He knew she was 15, and he was talking about all the things that he wanted to do to her if she turned 18, and convinced her to get, undressed and do all kinds of things at 15 years old. Let's stop talking about the past. Let's go after the bad guys today. Can we do that?
No, because you have to make judgments about things. And if you're on the other side, if you're on the left and the far left, they're not going to cover it. I mean, they're not going to give you, it's covered in New York, but you're just not going to get it.
I will tell you,
if somebody on a conservative side does something, then it's huge headlines.
I was going to say they don't have a problem judging you. They don't have a problem judging me. So it's
based on nothing.
Yes,
by the way, based on nothing.
More than nothing. Bill, let's just wrap this up. I hear you have a new book.
Yeah, and that plays right into what we were talking about, where the only way this problem is going to be solved, Beck, is individual Americans going to their school boards, going to college students, going to their deans, and saying, we have to stop this, and having the facts to win the debate. And if you read Killing England, you will know about George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Benjamin Franklin, and you will be able to win the debate.
And again, I don't know how. And I started reading about him, and I wanted to put him on the show. And he has been booked to be on this show, I think, more than anybody else has ever been booked to be on the show without a single appearance. And it's because every time he's booked to be on, there's a major news story that has broken. So I can't believe I'm saying this to John, but welcome to the program, John.
It's awesome to be here, Mr. Beck. I appreciate it.
Please call me Glenn. John.
Okay. Got it.
I really like what you're doing, but I really like your attitude and the reason why you're doing it, or how you came to this. Can you tell us your story a bit?
Yeah, of course. So I was working a sales position job for about 3 years. And it was a pretty good job. I had like health insurance, 401k, good salary, and long story short about the job, about 3 months before I was fired, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And so what ended up happening was, I ended up having to incur like really, really high medical expenses. And with the insurance, it was covering a lot, but after I was fired, I had to incur almost like $4,000 a month in like medical expenses. And I couldn't really afford it. So I was trying to figure out what to do after I was fired. And, I've always kind of been a creative. So my girlfriend at the time, wanted a ring. So I had a lot of free time on my hands, and I said, okay, well, let me try to make you one. And I made her one out of a coin, and I've always been a coin collector, so I thought it was pretty cool. And looking back on it, it's not the best-looking ring, but she loved it. And I put it on Instagram, and, everybody started commenting saying, oh, I want one. Can you make me one? Can you make me one? And the light bulb went off, and what happened was I thought about it, and I went, if I could sell, X amount of these rings, I could pay for my medical expenses. And, with my health insurance, there was like the COBRA thing where you get to like kind of keep paying for your insurance. But even then, when I was at the job, I signed up for like the best health insurance plan. So, I was getting a really good benefit from the current employer. They were paying almost all of it. So I had to incur that. And then on top of that, the deductibles for insulin, blood strips, needles. So, still at the end of the month, I was having to fork over like $4,000 in just like medical expenses and health insurance. So it was a crazy amount, but like I said, I was thinking about it, and I was like, if I can sell X amount of these rings, I can make this work, and that's not including the rent and car payment, all just living expenses, but. Lo and behold, I kind of just took initiative, and I was like, yeah, I'll make you one. And, it was the first month of coming up on like paying these bills, and I made enough money to pay everything. And that's kind of when the light bulb went off. And I was like, you know what? I want to do this, and I want to do this kind of like full time. I want to take initiative on my own life and kind of just carve my own path instead of relying on others to kind of like help me get by on health insurance. And, you know, I wanted to be my own boss. So that's kind of how it all started. And that was back in 2014. So that's kind of like the basis behind In God We Must. Like our motive is to just inspire people to pursue their dreams, even in like really lowly and disappointing circumstances, that were proof that you can do anything you want as long as you have the determination and, you know, the drive to do it.
So explain to me, because I've been to your website and you've got great stuff, and I really appreciate it. You're all millennial, and explain the name In God We Must.
So In God We Must is derived from the coinage that we use. So all of our rings are made from coins. I don't know if you caught that or not when you were looking at it.
Yeah, I did. And they're great. And I'm looking, you sent one for me to look at, and it just barely fits my pinky because I'm such a fatty fatso.
You have tree trunk fingers?
I have tree trunk fingers. But anyway.
So do I, yeah.
So, but you sent the Texas one, and I believe this is a quarter, is it not? Is that what this is made of? Okay.
Yeah, so it's the Texas statehood quarter. You know how they were doing all the statehood quarters starting in 1999? Yeah, so we offer every state, and we make a ring out of it. And if you look at the ring, and really on any coin, there's a phrase, "In God We Trust." Yeah. Right. So, you know, when I was doing this and I was starting out, I didn't have a name. It was just, you know, hey, I'm Elijah and I make these, you know, and it was mainly friends and family, and word started spreading. So I figured, I was like, man, I need to give this a name and make it a little more official. So, you know, I was like, it'd be really cool if I could somehow use something that's on the coin. So, you know, I collect them, like I said, so I've always seen In God We Trust. And I was like, it'd be cool if we did a play on words and said must, and kind of like correlate it to the circumstance that I was in, where you kind of like, you had to figure something out, and you had to like make a move and take a risk and, you know, leave some stuff up to chance, but, you know, really taking initiative. So it's a play on words, but the name and the meaning is derived from like my circumstance. So
how is business?
It's really good. It's growing year after year. You know, we're still a small business, but to put it into perspective, when we first started, I was making these on a back porch. And now we have a little office and a studio.
That's great.
With a lot of stock, and
you're actually mentoring other people and other people who are in your situation, and you're like, I get a lot of. Actually, it's so funny you mentioned that. Yesterday, I got an email from a guy who was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when he was 18, and he shot us a message that said he's been following us for a couple years, and we've inspired him so much that he actually started his own business as well. Kind of the same circumstance. I think he was let go from his job, and, you know, he was like, well, if you can do it, I can do it. And, you know, it's not like kind of a business where we're in competition. Like, we want to influence people to do their own thing, you know? So when people have, you know, it's the way it all should be, I think, myself.
Like, it's like, you know, if you need advice or help, we can help you out.
So John, the reason why I had you on is not only did you take a bad circumstance and own it and turn it into something good, but as I look at your T-shirts and everything else, you have, you know, pioneer spirit, made with quiet excellence. Your one that you're leading on the website now is what is it? Hard luck is hard luck is still luck. And one where the earth is smoking a cigar and wearing a hat and says, "I don't owe you nothing."
Yes, that's one of my favorite designs.
I love that one. Where did that come from? I mean, that is not where the world is going.
Yeah. Well, all the designs are kind of like, we always do motivational kind of designs. So the hard luck is still luck is, you know, it's really just a motivator that says you're lucky to even have hard luck. The world design, I don't know you nothing, is just, I think it applies to everyone when it says, you know, you owe yourself everything, but the world doesn't owe you anything. So work for yourself and make things happen for yourself, and any determination or hard work that you're going to put into something, as long as you put the initiative down, you can make things happen, whether you believe it or not. You are only responsible for your outcomes in life. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where that shirt is coming from. So I don't know you. The world owes you nothing, but you owe yourself everything.
How's your health today?
It's really good. It's really good. I've been, I was diagnosed with type 1 in 2014, so I'm still pretty new to it. Haven't dealt with it my whole life, so
right.
I'm still figuring stuff out, but it's pretty good managing the blood sugar and
and you're paying the medical bills?
I am, yes.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yes.
John, thank you so much for the inspiration. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
GWM in GodWeMust.co, not .com, .co, in GodWeMust.co, IGWM. And I urge you to go and buy a T-shirt, buy a ring. It's not expensive. Help this young entrepreneur affect his life, and affect the lives of those around him. I thought he was. I was inspired by his story. Kind of a random thing for anybody who has listened to this program for a long time. Do you remember Chippy? Chippy was 100. Maybe 100 years old when I first met him a couple of years ago. He came to the studio, and he's a huge fan of the show. He's 102 now, and his full faculties. I mean, he remembers, the Depression. He remembers hearing about the stock market crash. We've done a show with him where he's absolutely incredible, just a remarkable guy. Well. Amazing. He was riding his scooter. He's still 102 years old. He was riding his scooter, and he was in the Hamptons, where, all of the best people hang out, and the caring people and the good people. He was hit by a car. It was a hit and run, and he is okay. He went to the hospital and has been recovering. He got out of bed the other day while in the hospital, and in true Chippy fashion, got up and danced a bit. But I wanted you to know about it and keep your prayers for perhaps our oldest fan, 102-year-old Chippy, who is on the mend. There's a couple of other things. Every day we at glennbeck.com, we put together show prep, and we take about, 10 stories, and we have you rank them, the stories that you want to know about. The one of the top 5 that you wanted to know about was what NASA is doing to save earthquake and hurricane victims. I don't know if you've heard of this, but we are using some technology from NASA now. You know how we've always had dogs go and sniff out survivors in, like, for instance, this week, Mexico, and they have to hold their hands up and quiet everybody because they're listening for voices. They're listening for people who are trapped under the rubble that are still alive. NASA has worked on some new technology that we're now beginning to use. It's called Finder, and whether that person is conscious or not, it actually will listen for heartbeats underneath the rubble. And if there is a heartbeat anywhere in the area, it will pinpoint them and be able to find them quickly to be able to bring them out from the rubble. So just he has a problem with somebody's eulogy. Somebody who comes and just wants to speak nice things of the dead.
Just say a few beautiful words about their lost friend.
Sure, and bring touching people together.
Yeah,
right.
And I thought I'd remind everybody how touching it really was when Maxine Waters spoke at Dick Gregory's funeral.
Yeah.
What did Dick die of? I never heard. I just saw the funeral. I
didn't know Dick was even sick.
I didn't either.
I'm sorry to break it to you, but
we lost him.
I didn't know.
Yeah. So here's Maxine Waters just saying a few beautiful words at her friend Dick's funeral.
When it happened,
yeah,
it is worse now.
Isn't it?
It is worse now that you see where we are, that we have devalued everything in the society except winning.
Yeah. And we've turned funerals into pep rallies. At least they've put the fun back into the funeral.
Yeah.
It's like, we'll all miss our friend Bob, but he's gone. So give me a D! Give me an E! Give me an A!
Hey.
Give me another D! What's that spell?
Dead?
Dead! What's that spell? Dead! Who's dead? Bob's dead! Where's Bob now? Hell in all likelihood! Death has Bob on its team! It's great! Maybe we should take a lesson from that.
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think so. Although, if I died, would I mind people standing up at my funeral and saying...
I don't think you'd want it politicized.
No, I wouldn't want it politicized. No. Would I mind politicians or saying to vote for somebody or to do something? No, but would I mind somebody standing up and saying, look, this is who he was? Stand up.
Right.
Stand up.
Yeah.
You want to remember him, stand up. So I don't have a problem with that. And Dick Gregory was he was a lefty as far as...
He was a lightning rod for the left,
he was a lightning rod for the left. And so I don't have a problem with somebody saying, because that's who he was. That's who he was. However, the problem here with Paul Wellstone is clear. With Maxine Waters, it becomes obscene because it, again, is about winning and about lies.
Yeah. Even in death. And there's something so sick about that and so twisted. And the lies that are happening while she's accusing the president of lies, it's despicable.
It is hypocrisy.
Wow.
You are saying that the wealthiest 1% are stealing. First of all, Elizabeth, here's the thing. You were given those opportunities as a kid, and you could make it because the government hadn't gotten in the way of every possibility of an entrepreneur or somebody who wanted to be able to change their life. Do you know why your college was $50 per semester or per class? You know why? Because the government, when you went, wasn't guaranteeing the loans, which made it into a racket. You want to fix the ability for people to get a good education, then you should be spending your time talking to the institutions of higher education and asking them why they've increased the price of that education by 41%.
Yeah, the reason she was able to make it in society is because there was so much less of what she wants more of back when she was coming up. Like you mentioned, she can't do any of that anymore. People can't do that anymore because the government has gotten in the way with regulations.
In Glenn Beck TV, we premiere a new season on, October 9th. That's a couple of weeks away. And we're really focusing on chalkboards. And the first week of the premiere week is all about socialism. What is it? Where has it ever worked? Where has it failed? What is its legacy? And what does it promise you? A close look at socialism, all on the week of October 9th, only on the Glenn Beck TV program, and that is only on the Blaze TV. Did you see iOS 11 was released by Apple this week, Pat?
No.
Okay. Most people are not paying attention to this. They're paying attention to what the Apple CEO said, Tim Cook, about illegal immigrants. Listen to this.
This is about basic human dignity and respect. It is that simple and straightforward. On the broader subject of immigration, if I were a country leader right now, my goal would be to monopolize the world's talent.
So in this, he's starting to talk about more illegal immigrants coming to the United States. We need more illegal immigrants. That's what got the headlines. But there is something else that he said, that iOS 11 is going to change the media. And I haven't been able to figure that one out. I think I have a clue, but I want to do some more research on this weekend, and I want to bring it to you because if I'm right on what he's talking about, oh boy, the media needs to wake up, and we will tell you about that and the 1,000 1,000 journalists that have now been hired by Google under the tutelage of NPR, PBS, the New York Times, ABC, NBC, and CBS. They are working together, and they will solve